Patrick Shields with you. Gas prices, I'm sorry to say, are becoming more painful to Michigan drivers. Service stations now $4.29 a gallon. That's for self-serve regular, from what we're understanding. Carl Levin, United States Senator, wants some answers from Pakistan's military about Osama bin Laden's stay in Pakistan. I think he wants to know how he could live there so comfortably without Pakistan knowing. The Detroit branch of the FBI is reaching out to Arab Americans in Dearborn and around the Motor City to prevent attacks in response to the death of Osama bin Laden. There are special agents there who say that may create the potential for some to react against the U.S. or U.S. interests, so they have no specific threats. And Ahmad Hamad, who is the regional director of the Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee, says he welcomes the death of bin Laden, but fears there are extremists who will want to follow in his teaching. Metro Detroiters have a mixed response to the idea that New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg passed around. He had the idea that Detroit could repopulate itself with immigrants. He said that on Meet the Press. In fact, here's what Michael Bloomberg said about Detroit.
Take a look at the big old industrial cities, Detroit, for example. Got a great mayor, Mayor Bing, but the population has left. You got to do something about that. And if I were the federal government, assuming you could wave a magic wand and pull everybody together, you pass a law letting immigrants come in as long as they agree to go to Detroit and live there for 5 or 10 years, start businesses, take jobs, whatever. You would populate Detroit overnight because half the world wants to come here. We forget, we whip ourselves a little bit too much. We still are the world's greatest democracy.
The road to citizenship, according to Mayor Bloomberg, could go through Detroit. Serve your 5 years. It's like, what is that place when you're on your way to heaven there? A purgatory. You get to have a little purgatory in Detroit before you're in the United States. Independent poll shows that Benton Harbor residents, by a 23-point margin, say the emergency manager will do a better job of handling the deficit than the mayor and the city council. Chrysler is back in the black, $116 million first quarter profit. Congratulations to them. And in the state capitol, the Lansing City Council, the members there have declared if the millage passes today, they're going to use it for police, fire, and roads. There was a resolution just before the election. They want to reassure people that if you vote for the millage today, that's where the money's going to go. Police, fire, and roads. The death of Osama bin Laden led to early gains in Wall Street yesterday, but they fizzled. The Dow was lower by over 3 points, the NASDAQ down 9.5 points, and the S&P was lower by 2 points. It is 36 minutes after the hour right now. Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Susie Merchant, the Michigan State University women's basketball coach, will be with us in studio a little bit later. And Dick Stewart from the Kalamazoo Country Club is going to give his annual spring poem, which he does on this program. And if you've ever heard it before, you'll never forget it. It's legend in Michigan, and we're the first ones ever to put it on the radio. And it is spring, I think, because Glenn Owenda is the executive director of the Tulip Time Festival. Good morning, Gwen.
Good morning.
Well, I think with all these April showers, we ought to have some pretty good May flowers, right?
We will have perfect May flowers. They're already starting to bloom, and give it a couple weeks yet, and we'll still have flowers. So people that come to Tulip Time in the next couple of weeks will see some beauty.
May 7th through the 14th, I understand, 80 years in the making?
Yes.
What happens at the Tulip Festival?
The Tulip Festival is initially started with the planting of tulips, and it became, over the years, a Dutch heritage festival as well as a community festival. So there are 3 major parades. We have local bands playing at our Tulipalooza event next weekend. We have fireworks. We have a 5K, 10K run, and lots of shows.
Does it cost anything to get in?
Depends on what you do. If you're coming to look at the tulips and go to the parades and watch the Dutch dancers, all those events are free. Mm-hmm. If you're looking to go to some of the shows, there's nominal ticket fees.
I remember that was one of the first things that Governor Granholm did when she was elected to office. She came to the Tulip Festival, and there's a very famous picture of her dancing that dance. It's quite an interesting heritage that you connect to Holland, in Holland.
It is interesting heritage, and a lot of Holland was really initially settled by the Dutch, by Albertus van Raalte, who came here from the Netherlands. So there's a large population of Dutch as well as many different cultures here in the community.
Well, it's certainly part of Pure Michigan, and one of the things that we're very proud of. DutchHeritageWestMichigan.com is where we can get more information.
If you go to tuliptime.com, you can get all of our show information, and that will tell you everything that's happening at the event.
World-class festival, popular events for residents of Michigan and anybody who wants to come from around the region that showcase the community there and celebrate Dutch heritage and culture. It's the Tulip Time Festival. And tell me that web address one more time.
Tuliptime.com.
How many tulips if you counted them all during the festival, how many would there be?
Hundreds of thousands.
Isn't that something? Wow. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a real rite of spring in Michigan, to be sure. 20 minutes now before the hour. Michael Moore, who lives in Traverse City, the filmmaker, apparently he's been putting up some Twitters about Osama bin Laden. Do you want to hear a couple of these? I'm going to read them for you anyway. See what you think. He says, Michael Moore, the monster we created, yes, we, in the 1980s, by arming, funding, and training him in the art of terror against Russia, finally had to be put down. That was one of his tweets. And then it says, now that bin Laden's dead, can we put shampoo in our carry-on? I didn't know that Michael Moore used shampoo. Did you? He says, can I keep my shoes on, please? Michael Moore, keep your shoes on. And can we bring all the troops home, of course, which everybody hopes for. That's Michael Moore. And, and then he says, what does this mean? Beloved character actor Osama bin Laden, star of TV's Fox News, dies at 54. He likes to stir up the controversy, doesn't he? 20 minutes now before the hour, and Michael Patrick Shields heard all across the state of Michigan, and glad to have you with us this morning. By the way, speaking of flights, since he mentions, going through security and all that sort of thing, when I flew to Bermuda on the weekend, I was there just for a day, but Brooke Shields was on my flight. You know the actress? She's from New York to Bermuda. Yeah. What was that movie she made when I was a teenager where she was lost on Blue Lagoon on the island there? And so I had a chance to chat with her just a little bit, and I said to her that, when I was a teenager, I told my mother that we must be cousins because we had the same last name, Shields. And then I said, but look at my card, and I handed her my business card, and I said, I don't have the D. My mother had to break the news to me. We weren't cousins. You have the D, and I don't have the D. And Brooke Shields, who was very thin, very angular in the face, more than you would see on television, she says, well, I don't know what the D does for me anyway. And I said, I think it makes you Scottish. And I said, without the D, I'm Irish. And she said, well, you're only one island over. Maybe we are cousins. And then I said, yeah, I kind of hope not. And we had a little laugh about it and all that. And she was pretty friendly and nice. And so it was one of those invite yourself to the party situations where once I saw her, I knew I had to have a little exchange with Brooke Shields. Why not? So I encourage you to invite yourself to the party, just like I do in my book, Invite Yourself to the Party, another celebrity run-in. Okay, celebrity run-in next with a local car dealer in the state of Michigan here and a big company called Toyota that's seen better days. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan.